Thing that confuses a lot of people is spaced armor. Yes, it does count as a whole separate sheet of armor on somebody's tank, and we have a Jagdpanzer E100, which I will show you the spaced armor in a minute. We have the Panzer IV, which is covered in spaced armor. We have a Super Pershing T26E4, which is the most annoying example of spaced armor, and then we have a tiny little Matilda BP, which you will see the spaced armor when we get there. And I'm going to be shooting at the Super Pershing, hopefully with HE shells, so I don't one-shot him. I will not be trying to kill you, Alex, but I will end up shooting you to show your spaced armor. Now, you can see I have armor covering partially part of my tracks. I have 120 millimeters of tank armor on the side, and then however much the spaced armor is, which is probably about 2 inches of protection, and that'll really help with HE shells against my tracks. You see Black Attack next to me is covered in spaced armor everywhere from his turret to his tank and everywhere else, and Black Attack would like to point out that he is single again. So if you guys will come to the middle. And I have just now finished reloading. And from far away you can see all these little boxes and screws and everything on the Super Pershing, which is its spaced armor all over the Super Pershing, which in a Tier A game is annoyingly well played. So, ow, that tickles. Anyways, Black, back up. Hold still, Alex. I won't one-shot you, I promise you. Now, turn your turret off to the side. Stop shooting me. Turn your turret to the side. You can see all the spaced armor right here. Turn your tank off to the side. The whole tank. Spaced armor bolted onto the front of his tank. Now, if I shoot this with high explosives, I only did 397 damage when I have a potential damage of 1,400. So he has 2 layers of armor, and the spaced armor catches my penetration, which is only 85, so it probably barely made it through his spaced armor plate. Now if I were to try that on Black Attack, who has like thin little 2 inches on his tank turret, which is thin, and then another like 50 millimeter sheet on the side of his tank to give him a max total of about 80 millimeters of armor. And then we have this Matilda Black Prince, which has this whole entire tracks covered. Well, most of the tracks covered with spaced armor, and then a little bit of it on the back as well. So Black, if you would be so kind as to shoot 13 in his tracks with a standard AP shell. He broke the track and did no damage to the tank at all, whereas the Black Prince can easily punch through the armor right there. And if you shoot a Panzer IV in its spaced armor and you don't have enough penetration to get through the front of the turret, spaced armor is going to take a whole bunch of the armor penetration value away from your shell. And Black continues to shoot 13 and not penetrate his actual gun. Let's see who kills who first. And the Black Prince is victorious due to its high rate of fire. Not due to that. Now, I do have more armor on the back of my tank, but being that there is more armor on the back of my tank, I have spaced armor on the side of my tank. So I avoid his shot there. And if I keep turning, eventually I will have a shot on his tank. And I don't know if I'm going to hit him in the spaced armor, but I will hit him and it'll hurt a lot. If he could ever penetrate me. If he could ever manage to penetrate me, which doesn't look like it. Keep grinding inside of his tank. $611 damage, HE shell into the front of his turret, which is spaced armor. And then this standard AP shell is going to rip right through him because I have about 300 millimeters of penetration. Now yes, this does seem a little fair seeing as how I am at a tier 10 and he is not, but I'm going to utilize the flaw of the Super Pershing design and shoot him in these tiny little rocket tubes on the front of his turret, and he is dead. That is the best way to avoid the spaced armor of a Super Pershing, if you have enough accuracy to hit it there. Now the best way to avoid the spaced armor of an E100 is to just not shoot it in the tracks and probably turn around and run unless you were in a tier 10 tank. In the Panzer IV, if you were in a low tier tank and you shoot him, you probably will not do any damage. If you're in a high tier tank, you will get through. The Matilda Black Prince has very well protected tracks, which is helpful because the Matilda is a very slow tank.